How much time do you guys spend like as the heads of this planning out where DC goes next? Like, is that a big? It feels like it would be a big conversation.
It is a big thing. Well, I mean, one of the things that we did was when we first took over, I had written up what point was what? But I had written up like what the first shows were supposed to be, and then but where the story eventually went. And so then we met with David Zaslav, who's the one who hired us. We told him what the basic plan was. He was into that. We got hired. He was the only one that knew that. And then we told Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, and they were into it. And Casey Boyce, who's head of HBO Max. So we had a basic plan, but then I hired a group of writers who I really respected, who came in, and we kind of worked out the whole story. Now, some things have changed since then for various reasons, but the basic thrust of the big story is the same. That is what started in Superman, continues in Peacemaker, goes to the next Superman movie, and then will continue from the movie after that, and then after that. So there's the bigger plan that we came up with. That,
it feels like it's got to be like with everything you have and just the scale, it's like you have to think in terms of like decade, right? Like 10-year
It's
plans.
like a decade, yeah. And maybe a little less, but yeah, but like it's very loose too. You have to be careful because there were certain projects that were a part of that plan that like, because my other rule is that I'm not going to greenlight anything without having a screenplay that I love. And there were other things that just haven't worked yet. And so you got to be, able to have the big picture in mind, but then also be willing and be able to shift anytime you need to.
Yeah.
So the pinpoints are the same, but some of the specifics have changed.
I have a heavy hitting question for you.
You got it.
Will we ever get a blue-gray Batman?
Is that what you want?
It's just what everybody wants.
It's not everybody.
No, it's not everybody.
It's not everybody because I have people. I have somebody saying, "Please give us this Batman," and then they put a picture of the blue-gray Batman on Threads or whatever, and then somebody else says, "You're a piece of shit."
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's a piece of shit because he likes
a color.
That is a pretty hard. That's the thing. There's a religious aspect to so much of this stuff that's very uncomfortable because. Should Batman have white eyes? That's a big subject of conversation.
Is it like that's a big combo?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like, guys, like that's really what matters. But those are the things I care about. Should his utility belt be yellow? Should he have the yellow crest around the bat? All of that sort of stuff. And none of those things are what's most important to me.
No,
what
of course.
matters is like the character, the story, and I think that we have a really, really good story now for what's happening with Batman.
Dude, I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
That was like, for me, I think, age-wise, like introduction to Super. So, of course, I saw the Christopher Reeve Superman as a kid.
Yeah.
And you're mesmerized, right? By he's flying,
Totally.
it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was Batman, the Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
That movie, I realized, like in retrospect, it made me feel like I had adult taste. Do you know what I mean? Like as a kid, you're like,
I get what you're talking
I'm
about.
a fucking grown up.
Yeah.
Because this shit, I like this guy. Who's this? Jack Nicholson. He's good.
Yeah.
And you know, you're like, oh, she's hot.
Yeah,
I like her.
I like her. Yeah. I like adult women.
Yeah, I like adult women.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton was awesome in it. Like that introduction to that world. And I watched it recently, and it feels like a little more. Like I wouldn't want to say cartoonish, but it is a separate like the tone in my memory is not the tone of the film.
I totally understand what you're saying.
But I was like so in where I was like, I love
now. Did you
this
like
shit.
Batman before that, or was that what got you into Batman?
No, I did like Batman before that, and I even because. As a kid, they were playing even the old Adam West.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
totally.
Like I was like, oh, Batman's cool. Batman. I was like Batman, Robin. I thought it was like a cool character. I had some comic books, but that movie for me, I was like, I didn't realize this is. I forget what year this is, but
'89 was the first Batman.
So that's perfect because I'm 10. So if you're 10 years old,
Right.
you go, oh, this is a genre of film? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
even know this is a thing, really.
Yeah.
And it just catapulted into always wanting to see Batmans. Because, like, that set the bar for me of, like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fun things about Batman, though, is that there are so many expressions of Batman that are cool.
Yes.
And different ways to access that character is one of the ways in which he's so iconic. So I don't think it's a matter of the blue and the gray or the black Batman. I think both those things are really cool. I like the detective Batman, but I also really like the fighter Batman that's just the brute that's
Yeah.
fighting. I like the silly 50s Silver Age Batman with Batmite, and that's kind of closer to what the original Batman TV
Right.
show was like. I like all of these different, versions of Batman, but I will say, in the same way that was your experience with Batman, that was my experience with Batman too as a kid, because I'm older than you, reading the sort of early 70s Neil Adams Batman comics that were much darker and grittier, and I was like, oh, I like this Batman. You know, I had seen like the sillier Batman, I'd seen the sillier Batman on TV, and I'm like, oh, this is gritty, cool Batman. And that was the thing that made me feel more like, if not an adult, at least a teenager.
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
8 or 9 years old.
It makes you feel like a little more grown up.
Yeah, and I really liked that I really still like that version of. I like that version of Batman that was sort of a Batman that we've never seen. There it is, right there. See that one in the upper left corner? That's the one.
That one there?
That's it, man. That was my favorite story. That was in a compilation of Batman comics that I read. And I just thought it was the greatest ever. And it was Batman, supernatural Batman too, which is something we've never seen Batman in like a sort of supernatural environment.
Were you like a huge consumer of, like, were you like voracious?
It was my life.
It was your life.
It was my life.
So this
I
is
was
like destiny, is what it feels like, kind of.
Well, I think a lot of people had that as their life that are not the head of DC Studios.
That's true. But it's cool that the person who is the head does come from that DNA.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I spent so much of my childhood skipping school, staying home, and drawing comics. And the main things one of the main things I drew were these characters in comics with Batman. So I drew like DC comics, and I had, all my own characters who I liked to have teaming up with Batman.
Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call two bears, one cave.